For joining this webinar today about LaunchPath 101 training related to the New World of Work training that many or most of you recently received, and also how it relates to SummerWorks and our new Connected Careers initiative. My name is Reese Lord. I am the tech sector lead here at Work Systems, and I've been leading the deployment of LaunchPath here at Work Systems. Also in the room are Caitlin Crichton, who is heading up the Connected Career initiative here, and Roland Chlapowski, who is the SummerWorks project manager. So I just want to, again, highlight a couple of items that we sent via email ahead of the call. The first is the LaunchPath instructor primer, which I'm showing on the screen right now. This is something we recommend, like I said, to print out, and we'll be walking through a lot of this material as part of the call. The second item is the LaunchPath applicant quick start guide. And this is sort of the process that youth will be following to apply to Connected Careers or SummerWorks. And we will also go through a bit of that on the call today as well. And then we also sent along the slide deck in note format, so you may find that helpful to write down notes on the call. If you are experiencing any audio difficulties, you can text us through the chat feature on GoToMeeting. And if you are having trouble seeing the webinar, feel free to jump to indicate that now on the call. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. We will have time at the end for questions and answers. If you have a burning question as we're going through, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. And then we'll sort of manage that. If we're getting too far in the weeds, we might have to postpone those to the end. And the other thing to mention here at the beginning is that we will be recording this webinar so that folks that weren't able to join on the call today will have access to the information. So I want to start by just walking through the agenda. Today I'm going to give a quick background on LaunchPath and why we use it, what it is. We'll talk a little bit about our Connected Careers initiative that sort of evolved out of our successful summer youth employment program called SummerWorks. We will talk about what our expectation of our community partners, that's you on the line. And then we'll go through two different parts of the tool. One is to look at the function as what's called a school user, and then to look at the tool through the eyes of what youth will see, or what's in the tool called the student view. And then we'll talk about some of the practical next steps that everyone has, that we'll be asking everyone to do. So before we get started, are there any clarifying questions at this point? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and get started. So LaunchPath is a web-based tool that helps connect students with employers for meaningful work-based learning experiences like internships, and jobs, but it also has capability around other work-based learning like worksite tours, job shadows, and more. We're going to be focusing today in the call around the courses features that relates to the New World of Work curriculum, as well as to the internships and job portion, which relates to SummerWorks in C2C, which is why many of you have engaged around the New World of Work. LaunchPath was designed to support large-scale work-based learning. It was developed in California through a grant from JP Chase and in partnership with the Linked Learning Alliance and the California Career Pathways Trust and the foundation down there. The key reason why we adopted LaunchPath was that we found as SummerWorks grew, we really needed a system to capture and disseminate position descriptions, as well as the youth characteristics of the youth that were participating in SummerWorks, while also facilitating the placement and tracking at a scale and in a timely and efficient manner. And we've used the system now for a couple of summers. We've been iterating it all along the way, and it'll be a core sort of integrated into SummerWorks and our C2C initiative moving forward. So just a little more background on it. Essentially, youth create a profile in the system on such things as what they've been studying, what they want to do, what their schedule or availability is, where they live, other work experience, things like that. Meanwhile, employers develop a profile and put postings into the system around the skills they need, what types of students they're looking for, preferences, and other things around transportation. And then the matching algorithm goes to work to suggest some data-driven matches for both youth and employers. And we take this, it's both art and science, and so we use the algorithm, the science part, to give us an initial cut of the youth, and then we have contracted with the folks at ERCO to put in the art part of it, and they go and they vet the candidates for the placement. One other feature of the tool is that there is integration with digital badges that document student skills and accomplishments, and based on earning specific badges, it unlocks certain opportunities in the tool. And the most important one for our purposes is that 5 of the New World of Work 21st century skill competencies outlined here in red. So adaptability, analysis, solution mindset, collaboration, communication, and self-awareness have been bundled together in our Work Readiness Training 101 Essential Work Readiness skills badge, and earning that badge is a requirement to be able to see, to be able to apply and be matched into direct hire jobs through the system. In addition, because the SummerWorks internships are our contractor ERCO acts as employer of record, youth have to complete a workshop called WRT 102, internship orientation and payroll registration, and earning that badge unlocks the ability to apply to those internships and be matched into those internships. So the digital skill badging is something that is relatively new this year, and we're excited about how it allows us to utilize the tool moving forward. I want to talk briefly about the primary roles within LaunchPath, and also just to give a little bit of context, you know, LaunchPath was originally implemented in a K-12 context, and so you'll see language like school and student, and so I want to offer a bit of a translation to those sort of traditional understanding of those roles. And so what I'm trying to do here in this diagram on the right-hand side is to say there are three primary roles. The first one is, you know, what we would call a partner. That's you on the phone. And that in the tool, you'll be called a school, but that can apply to any organization that will be implementing the New World of Work curriculum and or referring students or youth to summer works and connect to careers. Schools can be actual schools. They can be the WIOA youth programs that we fund. They can be after school programs, churches, community-based organizations. All of you are going to have partner access or access as a school user in LaunchPath. And you'll do the things like enrolling your participants into your courses, offering courses, and then monitoring student activity in the system. The second role is that of participant, or within the tool, it's referred to as student. And that's, again, your youth or your students. Again, youth do not have to be actual students in order to access the tool. They may be out of school youth. They may be youth that have graduated from high school that you're connected with in some way. And they will be, in the tool, they'll be doing things like creating their profile, registering and attending courses, and then when they earn those badges, they're able to apply and be placed into internships and jobs. And then the last primary role in the tool is that of employer. We have some employers that interact directly with the tool, and that'll be a growing part of the opportunities moving forward under the Connect a Career initiative. But also many employers have committed to hosting interns through SummerWorks, and the staff at ERCO act as an intermediary on their behalf. And so employers can do things like create a profile, post job and internship opportunities, and then view and vet candidates through the tool. Two other roles that I'll briefly mention is one, our role as the instance administrator. So Work Systems is the one that has licensed LaunchPath in the Portland metro region. We help develop new capabilities or features in the tool, and we managed overall number of partners in the system. And then we've contracted with ERCO to act as an intermediary on our behalf, both as between the participants or students and employers, and then also between our partners and the students. So that's it on the background of LaunchPath, and I want to get into the process that you all will use to register yourselves and get courses set up in the system. But before I do that, I just want to pause for a moment to see if there's any clarifying questions about LaunchPath and why we're using it. Okay, hearing none. To give you a big picture sense of how youth will move through the tool, essentially they're going to be creating a profile, both as part of the initial registration process and then expanding that during work readiness training. Then as they complete work readiness training, they'll be earning those digital badges, which will unlock the opportunities to apply and be matched into jobs and internships. They'll then be able to explore the postings and favorite those that they want to think more about. And then once they've earned the badges, actually go in and apply for positions, the highest ranked ones they like, so maybe a handful, 3 to 5, apply through the tool. And then lastly, employers and the staff at ERCO acting on behalf of employers will be able to review applicants, offer interviews or jobs. And the nice thing is that all of this activity that's happening through the tool, there are automatic messages that are sent to the community partners that are connected to the students in the tool. And as we'll show you in just a minute, you'll be able to log in and have visibility into your youth and their profile and things that you'll be able to see how they're progressing through there. So one of the pluses of using this system is that it automates communication with our partners in a way that we just can't keep up with during the frenzy of SummerWorks. So you've heard me mention this thing, Connect to Careers, and so I'll briefly just tell you that this is an initiative that evolved out of our successful Summer Youth Employment Program, SummerWorks. It's really our next step in a systematic approach to building the skills and the talent that workers in our region need, as well as to provide opportunity to learn those essential early work experiences for qualified and diverse young people. C2C offers young people multiple ways to build their skills, increase their experience, and prepare for their careers. And embedded in Connect to Careers is our standardized soft skills training, and that's the New World of Work curriculum that will help young people when they start those jobs to be ready from day one. Connect to Careers offers a common portal. It's found at c2cpdx.org. And from there, young adults can apply to positions and provide employers, and it provides employers access to those young people through the LaunchPath tool. So, I think this is the last slide before we get into the actual LaunchPath tool. And this is really to give you a heads up, and we'll revisit this at the end, but what our expectations of our community partners is that before you offer the Work Readiness Training 101 training, in order to be able to offer that training, you need to have completed the New World of Work Train the Trainer. That was the training that went on last week. If you're on the call today and you haven't had a chance yet to attend one of those Train the Trainer sessions, please reach out after the call and we can let you know when the next ones will be scheduled. Then, assuming you've completed the training, you need to prepare to implement that training. And for purposes of SummerWorks, that will be pretty quickly. You'll need to get those courses going in the month of May to set your youth up for internships that would start in June. We will also be offering Work Readiness Training 101 through ERCO, like we have in years past. And so if you aren't in a position to offer it, know that your youth will still have access to that training out in the community through ERCO. And then lastly, before the training would start, we're expecting that you're out recruiting and enrolling youth in your training. Most likely that looks like a group of youth that you're already working with, and you're creating space for them to take the New World of Work curriculum. That can look very different. So a community-based organization may be offering that, in a sequence of maybe 5 days after school. If you're a school, you might be embedding that into a course that you already offer during the normal school day. And if you have questions on that after we get through the call today, we're happy to think through that process with you. Once youth complete the Work Readiness 101 training, either if it's directly through you or if they've taken it via ERCO, you'll want to monitor, we're asking you to monitor their profiles and track their progress, encourage them to, engage in the tool. You'll be helping them to enroll both in 101 if they haven't done that yet, but also once they successfully complete 101, they'll be invited into the Work Readiness Training 102 class, which is that internship orientation and payroll. And both 101 and 102 are required in order to have access to SummerWorks internships. And the last thing we'll be asking you to do is to encourage your youth to engage in the tool. And that looks like reviewing postings, applying for jobs and internships when they've earned those badges, and very importantly, to be responding to messages, I'm not sure what happened there, to messages from the SummerWorks coaches in a timely manner.
Excuse me, can I ask a question real quick about 101? So I'm under the impression that students that have completed SummerWorks Work Readiness Training previously will not have to do 101. Is that correct?
That's almost correct. If they have successfully completed an internship in 2017, then they do not need to do Work Readiness Training.
Okay, but prior to that,
in a prior year did not have a successful internship, they still must complete 101.
Okay, so only if they've completed a successful internship in 2017, then they don't have to do Work Readiness Training 101, but they still need to do 102, which is offered at various locations. That's a one-day thing, or could you clarify that?
Yeah, so 102, which is the orientation and payroll registration, is about 2 hours, and it's a one-shot deal. They're almost all going to be at...
Oh, hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I lost you. You said they're almost all going to be at, and then dropped out for some reason.
Okay, so they're almost all going to be at ERCO.
Okay.
But if there are, if we can be assured of a very large session, so say, 25 plus youth, we could work with you to schedule a session at your location. Most are at ERCO, and we have a few in Washington County.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. And would encourage folks, if you are asking a question, after you ask it, unmute or mute yourself again, because it creates a terrible echo.
Will do. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So so right now I'm going to walk through the step-by-step guide that I sent. You also should have received an email from the LaunchPath system inviting you to join your partner account, your school account. So encourage you to follow along. The other thing I want to note here, and I couldn't think of another better place to put it, but in your notes, you might want to circle this website. This year, LaunchPath has created an online series of online user guides that's available from this wiki page. And so if it's not covered in the step-by-step guides we created, this would be another place for you to go and understand how to do certain functions in the tool. There we go. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna. Oh, that's right. I'm gonna drop out of the PowerPoint here and open up the website. So LaunchPath can be accessed via the address portland.launchpath.com. I'll note that if you just Google it, you'll probably get to this page here, launchpath.com, that has this sort of branding. But to be able to access our instance, you actually have to click on Portland, which will take you to this picture from the Pioneer Square, and that's how you'll know you're in the right spot. And I have to look up my user address here really quick. So I'm going to log in as a school user. If you want to follow along, if you've been able to set up your account, you can follow along on your side. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to, oh, yeah. Just give me a moment here. There we go. So when you log into LaunchPath, you should land on your dashboard page. Prior to that, if you are just getting started, starting on, I think it's page, all that context that we've already gone through, but starting on page 2 here, you will receive this invitation to register with LaunchPath. You need to click the register button in the email. Do not go straight to the page the very first time and register. You need to register with this link because it's tied to the account that we set up for you in LaunchPath. You will enter the requested information, so first name, last name, importantly using the email that we sent the invitation to. You'll set up the password, agree to the terms of use, and that will register you in the system. And then, as I just mentioned before, if you go to the portland.launchpath.com from that point forward and to sign into your account, you'll enter your email address and the password that you set, and you'll log into the tool. Here's the note about don't go to California, and you'll land on this dashboard. So I'm now up to page 3 on the if you're following along on that sheet that I sent. So from here, I want to demonstrate for you how you'll engage with the tool. So the first thing one of the first things you'll probably do is just look at your list of students. And so this is live data. So this is all the people that are not associated with a specific school. They've indicated that they're not in school right now, or that it's not a partnering school. They get assigned to none apply. And we'll allude to at this point to say for those community organizations on the call, we'll be sending out some information about how you can associate yourself with students in the tool. What am I trying to say? We'll be sending those directions along next week. We're still finalizing the process for that. But what I'll say here is that every student, when they apply, is associated either with a known high school, a known post-secondary institution, so like Portland Community College, PSU, or to none apply school. And so there may be folks that are in this list that you're like, oh, this is one of my kids, and we'll tell you next week. We'll give you instructions on how you can get them associated with your account.
We will also give you, this is Caitlin, we'll give you my email and Roland's email and phone numbers so that you can reach out to us if you have trouble with it after you've gotten the emailed information.
Awesome. So from the student list, one of the things you'll do most often is to go and view a student's profile. So here's an example of a student, and I'll give you some clues that most youth, when they initially create their basic profile, they have not completed this About Me. This is one of the sections that you need to incorporate into your work readiness training. But here you can get a sense of, oh, okay, they have the About Me done. And maybe you know, as you read over it, you can work with the youth offline to help them, or not offline, but help them enhance their profile if you think it's lacking. You can see any formal experience or informal experience they may have logged in the tool. That helps enhance their profile and boost their match score for jobs that need those set of skills that they've indicated. And then if you scroll down, you'll also be able to see whether or not they have completed work readiness training. So this is a youth who is a successful SummerWorks 2017 completer. And so I can see that they have completed that course. If they're a new youth and they've signed up for a course already, you'll see like Work Readiness Training 101 and the date that they've either are scheduled to take it, or if it's past that date that they hopefully completed it. Later on in the summer, and we'll be clearing out these current internships and completing them. They'll show up here, but later on in the summer, you'll be able to see which job they were placed into in this section here. And you can also see any sort of application and offer history in their profile. So all that to say, viewing the profile is one of the things that will encourage and are asking you to do to help track and monitor your youth's progress in the tool. And that is accessed from your student list and going into view profile. The next thing I want to hit on is the courses. So my courses section, there is one course really in the tool that will be that you'll if you're a New World of Work trained instructor, that you can offer sessions on, and that is Work Readiness Training 101, Work Readiness Essentials. So if you're a New World of Work trained instructor and you intend to offer courses this year, so like in May, you will go in and add a new session of that course. That'll bring up the course session form where you'll enter, the location, any capacity, even down to, it's in room 402, 201, whatever. And then on the drop down, you'll have a list of any instructors that are associated with your school. And then you'll put in your contact information and place students that are signed up so they can contact you. And then start date, end dates, days of the week, and time. And as you hopefully gathered from the training last week, we estimate it'll take a minimum of 10 hours of instructional time to cover the 5 essential skills that are embedded in the Work Readiness Training 101 training. But those can be scheduled in a variety of ways. So in SummerWorks, we offer it, there's a couple of Saturday sessions where you go 2 Saturdays in a row. Most of them are offered in an after school 2 hours a day for 5 days straight. But you can come up with a schedule that works for your individual circumstances. And again, we're happy to help you think through that. The last thing I want to show you, I'm going to have to, since I don't actually have any sessions scheduled under this user profile, I'm going to log out and log in as a district user so I can show you how you would, if you do schedule classes, how you would grade those. So just give me a moment here. Good. Okay. So this looks very summer, it's just a higher level of access. Here you can see the list of, just for your own benefit, of SummerWorks 101 classes. So when your youth log in, when they go to their My Courses section, they'll see all of these opportunities for classes. And it includes, location, address, and they're offered starting the week of May 7th all the way through the end of June. But what you'll be doing if you do offer classes once you get to the point of your class starting is you'll go into the Manage Enrollment functionality. And this will tell you who of your students have already enrolled in your class. If you need to invite a student, you can come to the current users list and click on the invite. Most of them should automatically get an invitation to Work Readiness Training 101. And so the most important thing is on that first day of class, ensuring that they enroll in your course. So I'll demonstrate that when I get into the student panel. The last thing I want to show within the tool from the school user standpoint, before we started doing it, is in your list of sessions, you won't see this long list because you're not the instructor of record. You would go in to view your roster. And this is where you will grade students at the end of the week. This is also where you can withdraw a student if they end up, they can't take your course. Until you withdraw them or they withdraw themselves, they aren't able to sign up for a different course. So if you have any no-shows or kids you know that aren't going to take your class, but they had originally signed up for it, you can withdraw them. And the other thing I'll highlight here, and I noted in the guide, is that starting next week, we'll have the ability to add students here. So you can add a student directly to your roster here. The last action that you can take from the roster is to be able to comment on a student. This is super important or super helpful because it's a way for you to communicate with the SummerWorks staff information that may help them place the student. So it could be comments like particular interests the student might have, particular accommodations or barriers a student might have that you think will be important for the coaches to be aware of. And know that these comments are viewable by SummerWorks staff and other school staff that are associated with the student, but they are not visible to the student and they are not visible to the employer. So you wouldn't want to include super private information there because it is accessible to other school users that are at your school and to the wider SummerWorks staff. But it is a place where you can include comments that that you may not, for example, want an employer to see, but will help the SummerWorks coach in placing the youth. So that is the commenting feature available from the view roster. Everything that I just talked about is addressed in the primer that we sent along. So here's that discussion about viewing the student's profile, the courses and how you go about adding the sessions of 101, how you add students to your class and manage enrollment, as well as where you go to view your roster and grade your students and make comments. So the last feature that is talked about in the primer is the My Team. So if you go into the team, you'll see any users, any registered users for your individual school. Again, we have a lot of users because I'm in a district account now. The thing that we would ask is if there's somebody there that's moved on from your school or that no longer has responsibility that that they would need access to LaunchPath, if you could go ahead and disable their account, that'll just help us to manage the tool better and make sure that only folks that should have access to your school account have it. So we'll put it on you as a primary user of your school to review your team. I'm about to move on to the student functionality, but before I do, I want to pause and see if there's any questions about how you can utilize LaunchPath as a school user. All right. Hearing none, I'm going to move back into the presentation and tell you that the place where youth will start their interaction with LaunchPath is via either the SummerWorks website, and that's summerworkspdx.org. Here they can learn about SummerWorks, see we have some resources to help them through their application and also through the summer available here. And most importantly, if they click on apply, that's how they apply. On a year-round basis, youth can go to the Connect to Careers or C2C PDX. Are you applying? You were responding to chat? Awesome. Caitlin's helping me out by responding to folks that are asking questions through the chat, so do feel free to ask questions that way too. But your youth can go to C2C PDX and learn about that program, and if they click on youth, there's then an apply button. Either way, it will bring them to this initial screen. This is a validation screen that basically, because we've had youth participate in a variety of programs over time, they enter their legal name, their date of birth, and their email address, and it will check to see if they have an existing account in our data management system, iTrack, as well as to see if they have an existing their email address is already in LaunchPath. And when they check status based on whether or not they have those existing things, they will either be taken to the application page or potentially directly to the login screen. There's two things that I'll note here. So there was a question earlier on what about if the youth has completed SummerWorks in the past? They should still go to SummerWorks, apply, enter their information in this screen, and it will validate whether or not we have an existing account for them. If they were a successful completer, it will validate that they do have an existing account, and it'll take them directly to the login. And if we don't have an existing account, then they'll have a chance to set it up. We also encourage you, probably isn't a strong enough word, we're asking you to always tell your youth to start on this from this point. So if they go into the login button, it'll bring up this validation screen, and that'll just make sure that nobody's accidentally signing on to the California LaunchPath account or creating users unnecessarily. So if everybody goes through the login buttons, either on the SummerWorks screen or the Connect to Career screen, it'll ensure they access the tool appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now so that you can see that process. So if I were a youth, I would go to summerworks.pdx.org. Oops, I put in an extra button there. Extra. And we're going to ask you to tell them to go to the login screen. Sorry, looking up this login. Okay, I'm going to take a shot at this. What's that?
Do you have to do 0101 because of the
No.
format? Okay.
Yeah.
This is the last sentence.
So this would be an example that I've entered this incorrectly, but if your youth had not applied before, they would get this thing that says, this information does not match an active account. All that means is it doesn't have an active account, and so they should go and they apply through the SummerWorks application. I am not going to do that in the interest of time. I'm going to go directly to LaunchPath, and I'm going to try again to enter this address. Oh, right, I don't think that's why. All right. So when they successfully complete their basic profile after they've finished their application, they will get this message right here that says, hey, great, you've completed your basic profile. Now it's time to enroll in a class. Awesome, let's do that. So this is where they would go. And this profile I'm using is a SummerWorks completer. So they have the list of 102 classes, but your youth would have, most likely, they would have the list of 101 classes, including the session that you're offering. And so let's say I'm Southeast Works. I don't think we have one there. I don't have a good example, but if you were Southeast Works and offering a class and they typed in Southeast Works, oh, they'd see it and they can come over and normally they can click the button that says enroll, and they'll get a confirmation screen that they're enrolled in the class. You'll get an email that that person has enrolled, and if you go into your roster through your school profile, they'll show up. So one of the expectations we have of you is to help coach your youth once they've completed their profile to go to their My Courses page and sign up for Work Readiness Training. Again, Work Readiness Training 101 and Work Readiness Training 102 are required in order for youth to have access to SummerWorks. To date, we've had about 1,400 youth apply for SummerWorks, and we have about 400 kids who have signed up for a Work Readiness Training 101 session. All that to say is there's a whole lot of kids out there that need your help to enroll in an appropriate Work Readiness Training 101 course, or if you're going to offer it at your school or your program, get those scheduled up as soon as possible so that those youth have an opportunity to participate in SummerWorks. The next thing I want to feature in looking here is the actual profile. So when you create, or when they complete their initial application, they'll be asked to indicate if they have a driver's license or access to a vehicle, neither of which are required. Okay. Neither of which are required to participate in SummerWorks. So we ask that they enter this information accurately. There are a limited number of jobs where either because of the geography or the job duties, access to a vehicle and driver's license is required, but the vast majority of SummerWorks positions don't require that. What we say on the software skills is if you feel like they have above average skills in Word and or Excel compared to their peers, they could click this. And it just helps to match them to jobs where computer skills like Word and Excel are especially important. but if they don't have those above average skills, they will still qualify for plenty of positions. Then this is a new feature this year, and important that all youth enter their availability accurately. So during the summer, youth may be looking for both full-time and part-time jobs. And so they should click those as appropriately. And then depending on what sort of day parts they're willing to work. So if they're only working days, or if they're willing to do weekends, click that appropriately, and that helps only present opportunities that work with their schedule, and vice versa on the employer side, only youth that can qualify for the schedule. If they are bilingual or speak additional languages beyond English, indicate that here. And then here there are some jobs and some works that require either a background check or a drug screen. It is not required that all youth complete a background check or drug screen, but this is an opportunity for youth to indicate whether they would be willing to have a background check subjected to them or pulled for them, and same with a drug screen. And that, again, that just helps make sure if we have a job where a drug screen is required and a youth knows that they're not going to be able to pass that drug screen, please don't check this box, because it's a waste of everybody's time to vet you for that position. This will be one that you'll want to talk with them about in work readiness training. If youth are open to summer works internships where a staff at ERCO is helping to vet and match them to positions, they should click the internship button. If they're also open to be contacted directly by employers through LaunchPath and to be considered for entry-level jobs through the portal, they should click Jobs. Then they will complete this activity preferences screen, and they can select up to 8 types of job activities that they would like to do in their job or internship this summer.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question before we get too much further?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back to My Courses, because I went to another screen to for one of my students and typed in his information. So I have registered him for Work Readiness Training 101, but I don't see the option of the Work Readiness Training on his My Courses tab for Work Readiness 102 for the payroll registration.
Right. So Work Readiness Training 102 is not a course that you offer. That course is only offered by ERCO. And so it'll be ERCO staff that will invite them to the Work Readiness Training 102 after they successfully complete Work Readiness Training 101. And we know there's a few community partners. Awesome. And thank you for asking that. And there are a few community partners out there that have already offered their Work Readiness Training 101 classes. And we're getting through that backlog right now of those completers and inviting them into 102. And so if you've logged in recently their account, you know you didn't see that invitation, but you'll see it within the next week. Is it, Caitlin?
Yeah, and if they were a successful completer last summer, ERCO has already reached out and invited those youth to 102. The rest are just waiting, like we said, until they've successfully completed 101.
So then just so that I'm clear, so this student that I typed in, he's new, so he has to complete the Work Readiness 101, and then at that time, once that is completed, then he would get the invitation. Would that be on his profile?
Exactly. So he would, right now I'm logged in as a student, so he would come to the student would come to their My Courses page and select from the list of 102 offerings. And there are, as you can see on this page, almost every
Almost every day.
Almost every day of the week. There will be these sessions, and they last roughly 2.5 hours, and that's just to allow enough time for youth to complete to complete the payroll registration, to learn about how the payroll system works with IRCO. And one of the things that will be important for you to help support is that youth must bring their I-9 or legal to work paperwork to work readiness training. And that will be communicated through the emails and texts we send them, but it's also a good opportunity for you to reinforce that if they do not have their I-9 paperwork when they show up for work WRT 102, they'll be asked to withdraw and come back another time when they have that paperwork.
And I'll chime in really quickly about 102 as well for youth who do not need to do the work readiness 101. If they are 16 or 17, will need to have, if they're under 18, will need to have a signed application to attend that payroll registration class. We've already reached out to those youth, but it would be good to check in with them to make sure that they have that and that they did get a parent or guardian signature for that as well, so that they will be allowed into the class.
Awesome. So I'm going to continue with what the youth would be doing, and I should point out that all these steps from what it looks like on the youth side are included in that quick start guide for student users, including how to submit their online application, register with LaunchPath, and create their profile. And so after the call, as you're working with youth, you can walk them through all of this stuff. It's included on these pages that I'm doing online here today. So activity preferences, that's here. They click the ones that apply to them. They also select an industry sector, or you can think of this as sort of career pathway that they are interested in pursuing. And this screen is one of the major components of the algorithm. So based on the activities they say they want to do and the type of career or industry they want to work in the future, will help determine their match score and the types of position they're going to be the best fit for. Again, it's not a direct match. IRCO staff will then vet them for these positions, which brings us to your role in work readiness training, and that is the About Me section. The About Me section is not required as part of the basic profile, but it is probably the most valuable piece of information that summer work staff will use to help vet students. And so it's super important that during work readiness training, you are helping youth to complete this information. And it's stuff like, what are your goals for your experience this summer? Tell us a little bit about yourself that we may not be included in a resume. What are you currently doing in school or another coursework that you're really jazzed about? What are your long-term goals? Anything else we should know about you? And that is what IRCO uses as an initial part of their vetting process. Two other areas that we would encourage you to embed in your work readiness training. One is that to the extent that you are able to help youth prepare a resume, this is a great opportunity for them to be able to use that resume because any of the employers and the IRCO staff, if the youth uploads their resume, they can see it. And then the other section is the experience section. So we recognize that for many and probably most youth, summer works is the first job that they have. But many of them, have been volunteering or have been involved in clubs and classes or hobbies, and they can, that experience is important. And so they have a chance to talk about that experience in the informal experience section. And to the extent it relates to those activities that are part of the job posting, they can identify, oh yeah, I did some event planning with this volunteer organization I worked with. So they can click that. And what that does is it helps increase the match score for jobs that include that activity. Similarly, if they have had a job before, they can enter that information here. And same way that you would do it kind of on a resume where you do time period and from how long to how long. And then you'll see that same list of activities. And again, this boosts their match score for jobs that are looking for those types of activities. So the About Me section, the resume, and the experience section are ones that we ask that you touch on in work readiness training, in addition to obviously the New World of Work curriculum. The last thing I want to show here through the student portal is the jobs and internships. So the whole point of utilizing LaunchPath is to help facilitate internship and job opportunities. And so when a youth has completed their profile, they can go to the job and posting section and they can see the opportunities available. There's a couple things I want to note here. Youth have the ability to make, to basically turn their profile on or off. So you'll see this one is on, which means that it can be seen by employers, and this youth will show up in the candidate lists that employers and the ERCO staff will be utilizing. If they decide to opt out of summer works, or if they get a summer job, we would ask them to turn it off so that we're not vetting them for a job that they don't, that when they already have one. But this way, they can come back at some point if they then want to apply to summer works next year, or get a job through C2C throughout the year. They can come back and turn this on. If youth participate in Summer Works 2017, and like we said, we've already awarded them that Work Readiness Training 101 badge, we have auto turned off all of those youth because until they opt into the system, we don't want to consider them for jobs. So it'll be important for you to have those conversations with your youth to say, oh, you already have a LaunchPath profile and you're looking for a job, make sure that your profile is turned on. And we are communicating this to all the youth, but again, it's one of those things that you can support. So this is where youth can come and they can look at, oh, it looks like I am a good match based on my profile for this digital media internship at KGW. What's that all about? So they can click on the job title and it'll bring up the internship details. So these are paid internships. All the internships this summer will be at minimum wage, so $12 an hour. They get a sense of the number of hours a week. Almost all summer works positions are 180 hours. They can read about what the requirements are and what the activities are, and they can also learn a little bit about KGW and what the organization is. And then at the bottom, they can apply for the position, except that you'll see when I apply, it's going to say you need approval. What that means is this youth has not earned their 102 badge, and until they earn and complete that orientation and payroll registration, they cannot apply to SummerWorks internships. But what they can do is they can favorite that position so that once they have completed the WRT 102, they can come back to their list of favorites, and then they can go back into the position and apply for it. Does that make sense? Any questions about that process? Because we'll be asking you to help you through that. Awesome. So at this point, I'm going to return to the webinar, or the PowerPoint. And this is just to reiterate how you can support your youth in SummerWorks. The first is to make sure they complete the required WRT sessions. So help your youth enroll by going to their courses and completing Work Readiness Training 101. For many on this call, this will be offered by you through your organization, but youth can also take it through ERCO out in the community. And then when they complete that, they will be invited into Work Readiness Training 102, which is only offered by ERCO. And again, they must enroll and successfully complete 101 and 102 in order to apply and be matched into a SummerWorks internship. Another way that you can support your youth is by making sure they have active and robust profiles. So that's doing things like I just said, making their profile public, making sure their schedule availability matches their actual availability, ensuring that they have a complete About Me section, and including any formal or informal experience and a resume when appropriate or possible. The third way you can support your youth in SummerWorks is to encourage them to be engaged users in the system. And that means by doing things like reviewing those postings that I just showed you, favoriting the ones that they like, and then when they complete Work Readiness Training 102, coming back and applying for 3 to 5 of those opportunities. And when they apply, they'll have the ability to include a message that is analogous to a cover letter. And so really advocating for why they think that position is a good fit for them. And the fourth way that you can support your youth in SummerWorks is by encouraging youth to be timely with their response. ERCO has the sometimes overwhelming task of trying to match 1,500 youth to jobs between now and June. And so when they're vetting youth, they're usually vetting 2 or 3 youth at a time for a particular position. And if youth don't respond in a timely manner, they're going to move on. The other thing we would say is sometimes youth get fixated on a particular job in the system. Wow, I really want to be that KGW intern. And they start to decline offers for interviews or opportunities for other jobs because they really want that KGW one. Well, that's a good life lesson for you to coach them through, because just like you and I don't always get our fabulous dream job, either will the youth. And so it is important that they don't hold out for that dream job and find out at the end of the summer they didn't get any job because all the ones that were offered to them, they declined. And after a while, all those declines show up in the youth's record, and SummerWorks coaches will move on to other people. Are there any questions about how you can support your youth in SummerWorks this summer? Hearing none, I will just reiterate the next steps. So if you will be offering Work Readiness Training 101 and you are a New World of Work trained instructor, you need to schedule that up through the school, through your school portal as soon as possible. We highly encourage youth to complete Work Readiness Training as soon as possible because then they are first in line for jobs. We do offer training through the end of the month of June, but know that many of the positions have been filled by that time. And so if youth, hold out to the end of June, they will have fewer opportunities available to them. In April and May, youth will complete their application. It is live and up right now. So if, as I mentioned, we've had 1,400 applications to date, not including the 850 SummerWorks completers from last year. Youth should be completing the application and enrolling in Work Readiness 101. On your end, as I mentioned, in May, you should be implementing the New World of Work training through the WRT 101 class and helping youth to finalize their LaunchPath profile. Once you grade youth in the system, they will be invited into Work Readiness Training 102, and you can help youth to schedule that again through the tool. And then throughout the month of May and June, as I demonstrated, you can view youth profile, and we'd ask you to do that to monitor their activity, encourage youth who maybe have not completed aspects of their profile to enhance them. If you see offers in the system for requests for interviews, ask them about that. Ask them if they've looked at the postings and favorited any jobs, all those sort of things. And one last time, I'll just reiterate that Work Readiness Training 101 is required in order to be able to apply to jobs through the system, and 102 is required for SummerWorks internships, which are the vast majority of opportunities through the tool this summer. And with that, I'll open the floor. We have about 12 minutes left for any questions that folks may have. So do we have, anybody have any questions out there, or Caitlin, have there been any through the chat tool that you want to highlight that others may want to know the answers to?
I think I responded to the public one publicly, so I think that we're good. You guys have not yet received the follow-up piece from the New World of Work training that I mentioned, which will be the schedule of those competencies and the general outline for the New World of Work curriculum. That will be coming out. I'm hoping to wait till after Monday's webinar to send to the group. There's 2 updates that are happening with that I'm waiting on to send that. So you can anticipate that Monday. I think that Teresa asked a question that was talking about the profile, which was helpful. And I don't know if that answer went out to everyone, but she was discussing that they've done some pre-work with some of their youth and possibly doing practice interviews and different things, that they already have some answers that could be valuable to fill in. And that's a great idea of if you've worked with youth in other capacities and they already have these questions answered, having a guide that they can just fill out of the things that they've already done can really help your youth during work readiness training when you're doing that About Me section.
The other thing that will be coming next week that we mentioned earlier is for those community-based organizations on the call. Within the LaunchPath tool, a new feature this year is the program functionality. So youth through the application identify a school that they are associated with, but in addition, there'll be an opportunity for you to claim or invite youth to also be associated with your community organization or your program. And that will allow you to have visibility into their profile once they accept your invitation to be associated with your account. And we will, again, have step-by-step instructions on that early next week.
And I mentioned
I
earlier.
just have a question.
Awesome.
So, I'm sorry.
So go for it, sorry.
So in my school, there are already 2 sessions being conducted by ERCO. But now that I've received the training, I was thinking that it would be nice for my school to have a Saturday option. How many students, is there a required number of students that need to be enrolled for a Saturday class to be able to offer it?
You can have as many or as few as you think that you can handle in a class that you want to schedule, if you're the main instructor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions today? All right, well, with that, we'll wrap up a little bit early. I'm going to turn off our recording and